I can be the coach for you. Hey everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion. I'm super excited to be back for the first episode of 2021. Super proud that this podcast launched in 2020 and I had the opportunity to talk to so many cool, talented, incredible, wonderful creatives. And I hope that you enjoyed all the episodes that came out last year. I would love to hear, before we get started, which episode in 2020 was your favorite and why. Was it one of the interviews, one of my solo teaching episodes? What was your favorite episode? What made it your favorite? What are you excited to hear more of this year? If you are watching the video, leave it in a comment below. If you are listening to this magic, you can either leave a review or you can send me a DM on Instagram, tweet me, let me know what was your favorite episode of 2020, Brand Your Passion, and why. And I'm excited to dive in today because I'm here to talk to you all about the difference between a graphic designer or a branding designer and a branding coach, right? Because I feel like brand coach, branding coach is something that is kind of relatively new, but there are a lot of us popping up these days, right? And maybe you're not 100% sure what we do and what we're all about. Maybe you are like, I actually just want to know a little bit more about what a brand designer does. And I'm sure there are some of you, especially at the start of the year, who have some branding goals on your to-do list this year, and you know that working on your branding is something that you want to do, but you're like, oh, I don't know where to start. I don't know who I need to help me. I don't know what all these different people do and how they can help me and in what ways they're different from each other. And oh my God, Holly, please just tell me what to do. I'm here today to give you all the information that you need to have in your brain, in your arsenal, to know what does a brand designer do, what does a brand coach do, and how the frick do I know which one I need to be hiring to help me in my business. Firstly, I'm going to dive into what are those differences, and then we're going to get into how do you know which one of us is kind of the best person for you right now. And I feel like I can answer this with some confidence because if you don't know anything about my past, I have been a branding designer before I became a branding coach and strategist. So I was trained as a visual communications designer. That's what I studied, that's what I learned, that's what I'm trained and certified in. And I learned branding along the way. I started doing branding for my clients and I became a branding designer. That was my niche. That's what I did. That's what I did before I made the switch, made the pivot, and decided to go all in on being a strategist and a coach. So I have kind of both experiences. I've worked with a bunch of branding designers, graphic designers in the past. I know a bunch of them. I know a lot about that experience and what we do or what I did. And then now obviously I know what I do as a coach and as a strategist. So I can help you to understand both sides of this wonderful branding process and what these two different types of people do and how they can help you. Now, there's a little bit of a disclaimer to just cover off before we get started into all of the differences, because there is a little bit of crossover and there are going to be some brand designers who do have elements of coaching and strategy within their process, and there's going to be some brand coaches who do parts of the visual process for you or with you, right? So there's a little bit of crossover. There are people who do elements of both, and so if you are a designer listening to this or a coach listening to this and you're like, what? I do both. Don't worry, I'm not trying to say that you don't do any of these things or that you're not allowed to do any of those things that the other person does. Totally are. And if you're listening and wanting to hire one of these people, just be aware that some people do both. I'm not trying to say that they're never going to do aspects of each other's jobs, but I'm just going to kind of give you the general differences between the two roles so that you can get a pretty good idea of who does what and why and how. Sound good? Okay, disclaimer done. Number one difference between a brand designer and a branding coach is that a brand designer is going to do the work for you, whereas a branding coach is going to support you as you do the work and to help you to do that work together. Branding designer is all about implementing things for you, doing all the actions for you, actually making things for you so you don't have to do anything. You're cool, I've hired the designer, they are doing it all for me. Whereas a brand coach, here to help you as you're doing those things, right? So we're here to coach you through figuring out what your vision and your mission is and stuff like that. We're here to help you to make decisions about the visual direction of your brand. We're here to give you feedback on things about your new logo and help you decide which one to go with based on like the strategy. We are here to help you do the work and help you figure out what that work is that you need to be doing. So brand designer, done for you. Branding coach helps you do the thing. Number 2 is that a brand designer is going to help you with one aspect of your brand, right? The visual side of things. So I feel like that's a pretty obvious distinction. They're doing the design side of things. That's mostly all that they're focusing on, right? They might be covering lots of different types of design, like logos, color palettes, websites, like that kind of stuff. It's all visual stuff, yeah? On the other hand, a branding coach is going to help you with all aspects of your brand, from the brand strategy side of things, figuring out what you do and why and all of that stuff and getting super clear on who you are, through to the design and the visual aspects and the tangible parts of your brand like the copy and all of that good stuff, all the way through to how do I grow my brand, how do I do marketing, how do I get PR, like how am I going to grow this brand as well. So branding designer is just that one visual aspect of your brand, whereas branding coach helps you through the whole process. It's an overall picture of your entire brand. Difference number 3 is that a branding designer is probably going to be working with you on like one-off projects at certain times in your business. Maybe they're working on a rebrand with you when it's time for you to rebrand. They just work with you on that one project and then the project is done, they move on. Maybe you hire them for another project later on and they come back. It's usually on a project by project basis. Now, some people do have monthly retainers or contractors who do design stuff for them, but often it is just on those projects. Whereas a brand coach is helping you through a whole entire chunk of time, not necessarily on one project. So you might book a coaching package that's 6 months long or 3 months long, a year long, and that coach is working with you through that whole entire time on lots of different projects, lots of different things, helping you through all aspects of your brand across that whole length of time. So instead of being project based like a brand designer is, they are more long-term time based. Next up is that a branding coach like me is here to help you to figure out kind of the meaning behind your brand and your business. And a brand designer is here to help you to convey that meaning visually. So kind of behind my business, what's my why, what message am I trying to send, what feelings am I trying to evoke, and all of that good stuff, whereas a brand designer is here to help you convey that meaning through visuals. The next difference, which is kind of similar to what I mentioned earlier, is that a brand designer is really here to help you with kind of the small details of like, yeah, how am I going to convey this meaning, implement this stuff. It's the detail-oriented, smaller, focused, project-based, whereas a brand coach is really big picture, holistic. How are we going to position your brand overall, not just visually, but across everything? So it's big picture versus kind of small details. And the last difference that I want to share with you is one that I got from my past client, Pippa. I asked her, what do you think is the difference in your mind as somebody who has worked with both graphic designers and with a branding coach? She worked with me. What in your mind would you say is the difference from your experience as a client? And she said that the difference for her is that working with a designer, you have these assets that have a limited shelf life, right? You're going to be using your suite of illustrations and maybe you run out of those illustrations at some point and you're going to need more. Or you do kind of a rebrand and it works for 5 years or 2 years or 10 years or whatever, and then at some point you're going to have to redesign or redo those or get more or add to that package. So the assets that you have from a designer are incredible, but they have a limited shelf life. Whereas a branding coach is going to be teaching you lifelong lessons and giving you tools and strategies, the confidence and all of that good stuff that's going to help you throughout your whole career, your whole life, longer lasting, I suppose. It's a long-term thing in terms of the coaching package itself, but it's also a long-term thing in terms of the results and what you get out of that. Those are kind of the main differences between a brand designer and a brand coach. Hopefully that's kind of cleared things up for you. I'm envisaging a graphic of like this versus this so that you can visualize all of that and see it all laid out next to each other. Essentially, brand designers do the work for you. They help you with that one visual aspect of your brand on kind of a one-off project by project basis. They give you assets that have sort of a limited shelf life. They are helping you to convey meaning visually and giving you kind of the small details that you need to make your brand really pop and wow. And on the other hand, you have a branding coach who supports you in doing the work, helps you to figure out what that work is that you need to be doing, helps you with all aspects of your brand. So it's very big picture. It's an ongoing relationship over a longer period of time. They help you to add meaning to your brand and figure out what that meaning is, and really think big picture and building your overall brand. So those are kind of the side-by-side differences between a brand designer and a brand coach. Now let's figure out how you decide who you need in your corner right now. Who do you need to be hiring to reach your goals? Maybe it's one, maybe it's both, maybe it's neither. So let's figure that out by using these 5 questions. Question number 1 is, what problems am I having with my brand right now, and what are my goals that I'm trying to achieve? Based on the problems that you have in your brand is going to determine what sort of help that you need, right? If your problem or your issue or the thing that you're struggling with right now in terms of your branding is that your visual identity is like all over the show, you're making stuff up as you go along. Every time you go to make a graphic, it's all different. It doesn't really represent you how you want it to. Then that is kind of an issue that you have with your visuals. So it sounds like a visual designer is who you want to be hiring. Whereas if your issue with your branding is that you are struggling to find clarity about what you want to do, you don't know what your goals are or where you're going or how you're supposed to get there or how you communicate what you're all about, or you're struggling to have the confidence to promote your brand, or you need the accountability to make sure you're working on your brand all the time. If those kind of aspects of your branding, that side of things is what your issue is, then a brand coach is the person that you want in your corner, in your back pocket every day. So looking at the issues that you have right now in your brand is really going to help you determine who you need to help you right now. Question number 2 is, what skills do you already have yourself, right? Because if you have the skills of a graphic designer and you are able to do the graphic design yourself, even if it's just basic design that's going to help you start your brand and you have that capability, you're not going to need a branding designer. If you don't have those skills, or your skills aren't at the level that you need them to be in order to get your brand to the level that you need it to be, then that's when you are going to want to hire a branding designer. So look at your skills, where they're at compared to like where your brand should be at and where you need to be right now. Make a decision based on the skills that you already have. You can also look at the time that you have. So you might have the skills to do graphic design, but you might not have the time to do it. Personally, I have been a graphic designer, been a branding designer, but I don't have the time to do design or like copious amounts of design for my own brand right now. So I would hire a graphic designer to help me to create assets and designs and stuff for my brand to grow and push me forward. Think about how much time you have, and also think about how much time you want to spend. Like I said, brand design is more of like a shorter project-based experience, whereas coaching is a longer term investment and a longer term experience. So if you are like, no, I just want to work on growing the visual side of my brand on a shorter period of time, and I just want to invest like this limited time into this project, then you can work with a graphic designer. But if you're willing to invest the time over 3 months or 6 months or 12 months or whatever it is with a coach to consistently and regularly work on your brand like every week or every 2 weeks or however your coach works, then a coach is going to be awesome because you have that time to put in. And obviously, like we said, the coaching experience is more about supporting you and doing the work. So you're going to be spending more time on like doing homework and actions and like working on your brand yourself, whereas if you hired a visual designer, you won't have to do that. So you won't have to be spending the time doing any work yourself. Then you can think about what kind of support you need or works well for you right now in your business. If you are somebody who really needs like accountability to make sure you're working on your business, not in your business, then a brand coach is who you need on your side. If you are somebody who really needs kind of the encouragement and the empowerment and sort of the permission to grow your brand and work on your brand, then a brand coach again is who you're going to need. If you need somebody to check in on every week who's going to be like, hey, are you doing the work? Have you done the work? How are you feeling? How's your brand going? All of that good stuff. What have you been working on? Let's talk about your strategy and let's talk about your mission. Who's going to give you kind of direction, accountability, and encouragement? Then a coach is who you are going to need. Whereas if the support that you need isn't like that and it's more just like practical hands-on support, then a visual branding designer is who you want to hire. And the last question is, do I maybe need both? You might need both the accountability and support, direction and strategy of a coach, but then you might also not have the time or the skills or the patience to do the design as well. So maybe you need to be hiring both people. You might want to do the work with your coach, and as you're doing that or after you're doing that, be hiring a designer to implement all the things that you're going through with your coach. So think about, do I just need one of these people or do I maybe need to hire both? And if you need to hire both, that's great. That is question number 5. Consider maybe I need both. Okay, so we have now gone through like the differences between a brand designer and a brand coach and covered how you know who the heck you need to be hiring. So hopefully by now you know who it is that you need in your life right now, in your business. 1, if you need a coach, hello. I could be the coach for you. If not, that's cool too. If I am, please let me know. Head over to my website. You can apply for any of my coaching programs. I have my membership, which is like a big group coaching program that's on a monthly basis and we all hang out. It's awesome. Mastermind is on right now or about to start when you hear this episode. So you can join the waitlist to be in the next cohort to do that coaching package, or you can become a one-on-one client of mine and work with me either on just a short-term intensive project, or we can work on a 3-month-long coaching package, which is super fun and super awesome. Head over to my website or send me a DM. Let's chat about how I can be the coach for you. But if not, you can let me know if I know any other coaches, because I do. Maybe I'm like too fun for you, which is totally fine. I know a bunch more awesome brand coaches and consultants and strategists, so just let me know, ask me who my recommendations are, and same goes for graphic designers. So as I said, I don't do that anymore, but if you are looking for a branding designer, I have a whole list of people that I recommend all the time. So please flick me a DM, let me know. I'll send you some awesome recommendations for designers. Hopefully this episode has been super helpful. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments or tweet me or DM me on Instagram and let me know, who are you going to be hiring this year? Is it going to be a graphic designer? Is it going to be a branding coach, or is it maybe going to be both? What are your goals this year and who are you going to be hiring to help you achieve those goals? Let me know. I would love to hear. I'm super excited to hear like what you're working on. Yeah, other than that, if you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already if you're watching the video, and make sure that you share this with your friends if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.